What's up, everybody? It's Halloween. October 31st. It's a scary, scary Thursday evening, and I am here. Don McDaniel, I'm dressed as a beleaguered Jets fan because they're gonna probably lose tonight and their season is done. But I'm here with Greg Gagne, Magnum TA. It's some straight talk with the boss. Happy Halloween, guys.
Happy Halloween.
We got a snowstorm going here. I got a big bowl of candy sitting by the door. I already had a Milky Way. I grabbed a Haagen-Dazs ice cream, and now I got my protein drink, and I am ready. I'm fired up. How about you, TA?
I've got my new cup.
Ooh, look at that.
Whoa.
Guys and gals, you can get your own mug. You can get your own mug here at onetruesport.com right there, and warm up with the hoodie too. And the baseball bat not included, but you can scan the QR code, go to One True Sport, and get that mug that Magnum has too. And you could be the boss of your own household as well. So how about that?
Wow.
Hey, we're live here. Yeah, we're live here. So get your questions in. Chime on in. Greg, what do you got to say?
Quick question for TA. The baseball bat.
Yeah.
Bring us up to date on that.
That was after my accident and after I got jumped by Tully at ringside, and I started carrying the baseball bat.
Oh, did you?
That's it.
Yeah.
Did you use it?
Huh?
Did you have to use it?
A couple times.
Couple times.
Perfect. That's all we needed to know.
Yeah, very, very, very handy. As a matter of fact, I think if we all started carrying baseball bats, people would be respectful of each other.
We might have to do that.
Be some.
I think
right?
we get in the garbage truck with Trump, and you and I are on each side with a baseball bat.
Okay. I'm not sure about that exact picture, but
did you hear about Trump and the garbage truck?
No.
Oh God, it's fabulous.
He's going viral with that stuff.
Yeah.
Did he go pick up some garbage and be
just watch the news.
I don't know. I just saw him driving it. I saw pictures of him.
Well, they gave him the Democrats are giving him a hard time and they called he had that interview, that guy, that comedian that was on that ripped Puerto Rico about being garbage.
Tony Hinchcliffe.
Tony Hinchcliffe. Biden said something about the Trump's people and that they were all garbage. So
yeah,
Biden said that.
Biden said it. Yeah, he called the supporters garbage.
Baseball bats.
Yeah,
everybody get a baseball bat.
So Trump goes to the rally. He drives in a big garbage truck with the yellow vest on, or the orange vest. And he said, my people told me this would be a good idea, and I didn't want to wear the orange vest. But now that I wear it, I look a lot thinner, don't I? And the people went crazy.
Well, I didn't know Biden said that, but you got to be about an idiot to go insult, 50% or better of the people in the United States.
Yeah.
So, I don't care who you are, who you like, whatever. That
is not good politics.
Oh, it was horrible. Yeah.
Not good politics.
Anyhow,
that's some cheap heel heat right there. If you're doing that.
Yeah, I'm hot. I'm going to go look for my bat now. That fired me up. I may go early vote twice.
Biden's faculties aren't all there, I would say, probably. No. But we are live, so if you guys have some questions, let us know in the chat. Use the super chat to help support the show. Get the word out. We are live on fourhorsemannetwork.com, live on onetruesporttv.com. So be sure to like, share, subscribe. That will help us out as well. And also, we're now on podcast feeds. So if you type in Four Horsemen Network on your podcast feed of choice, it will pop up there along with the Arn Anderson Show. And you can subscribe to that and get all your daily or weekly dose of Magnum, Greg, and Arn on your podcast feed. So check that out. Andrew H., who's the research guy for the Arn Show, Magnum made mention of you with the baseball bat, said that was one of those moments that really blurred the lines. And he said Dusty coming out JJ selling it. Looked like they almost broke kayfabe. So how about that?
It was a thing because honestly, it just goes to show you how, crazy we were about, the business and what we did. But the sheer fact that I'm, just freshly out of the hospital after 5 months and I'm gonna go shoot an angle, on TBS and take a bump with a, neck that's, not real good. Well, the whole thing was just rather bizarre, honestly. And, I look back on it now, I kind of chuckle. But, if Dusty loved having me around and in the mix so much, he just wanted to do whatever he could to, keep me in the thick of things. And, in his head, I was still going to make a comeback somehow. So, yeah, it did kind of blur the lines because he came out with that baseball bat and proceeded to give receipts, potatoes, notices, whatever you want to call it, to everybody that was within swinging distance. And it wasn't, I'm glad I wasn't on the other end of it.
Magnum, were you nervous about that? Making the return and coming back after 5 months?
I didn't know we were going to do any of it, to be honest, and as we did everything kind of impromptu, Dusty said, I got a great idea, and it didn't, that was the thing, whatever idea he had from the beginning, if he imagined it, I thought I could do it. I was at the Crockett Cup and he says, hey, he said, what if Tiger Mask jumps off the top and you catch him and belly suplex him out of the air? I said, sure, great. Sounds great. I've never seen him. Don't know how much he weighs. Don't know what that'll look like. There are no walkthroughs. Sure, let's go do it. Let's capture it on film. And in case it's really bad, and I drop him on his head. But
who?
Tiger Mask.
Tiger Mask. Yeah.
Oh, Jesus.
Tiger Mask and Giant Baba again in the Crockett Cup, and good Lord. But again, that's just the way we had always rolled, and if he said go jump off a tall building at a single bound, I was in because I knew if it was going to be good if he thought of it. So I gave it 100% and I was all in.
Well, so you're 27 at this point, correct? 27, is that how?
Yeah.
Now, obviously, you had the car accident, and it really changed a lot, probably, of your mindset and stuff like that. But did you kind of think, like, I'm okay now? I feel better. I feel good. Were you confident, like, basically?
Oh no, I didn't feel good at all.
No,
I knew how. I looked a lot better to the average, person not understanding because I was. I was somewhat mobile and I could get around, but I knew that I wasn't even operating on 50% of my capacity. So
sure.
The effort it was taking just to get from point A to point B was 1,000 times more than what I had to exert back when I could work in the ring.
Yeah,
so,
yeah.
It was something that took a great deal of effort. It had very little gratification for having done it because it didn't seem to be much of anything, but it was just part of the story, part of the journey.
Right, yeah, no, and that makes plenty of sense too. It's just like, man, yeah, a lot of physical exertion just going on there to kind of make that all work and everything.
Yeah,
man.
Did you have a brace on your neck at that time?
No, I never had a brace on my neck.
You never did, huh?
I didn't have one when I broke it because they did a cervical decompression with a surgery within 8 hours of the actual incident, and of course that fused the bone and everything that stabilized everything that was shattered and gone to hell in a handbasket. So no, I didn't go through the halo frame or the all those things that most people go through. It was kind of different.
Man.
Yeah. Holy smokes. Well, I mean, you sure did look good with that baseball bat. I'll say that much.
Thank you. And I still had hair then, so I could pull it off.
Yeah, there we go. Well, hey, so last week we talked about Magnum. We talked about them having the potential of them having a weekly women's show. on WWE and all the presentation of that. And then news breaks today that Rhea Ripley is out with an injury. She has a broken orbital bone, and she's out for the foreseeable future.
Really?
Yeah.
When did you do that?
So the thought is that she got into a scuffle with Liv Morgan on Raw and and they think when she headbutted, she actually cracked her orbital bone. And so they did a little story on NXT where she got bloodied up and beat up and left laying. And so reports came out today that she is actually injured. And so, I mean, I would hear about broken orbital bones in like football, like training camps or like stuff like that. And people are out for a good amount of time. It's kind of a bummer for Rhea, but in a certain roundabout way, I think, you know, her recovery, her being away from television will just kind of only elevate her and stuff like that.
So, well, I saw her throw that headbutt and I thought, holy God.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was a dandy, but she's quite an athlete though.
Yeah.
I mean, she really is. Well, I rewatched that show. I was trying to tape the one the other night and for some reason I missed it. And I watched back that one and God almighty, she's a horse, boy. She's an athlete.
Well, you know, the thing is, she looks bigger on TV when she's, you know, framed out there by herself. I mean, she's not as large as I would think.
No.
I mean, I've seen her like standing next to Jordan Grace, who's not very tall at all.
No.
And Rhea's, you know, doesn't like tower, you know, over her like I would be imagining in my head she is. So I don't know how tall she is, but I don't know if she's as tall as Charlotte. But she just to Greg's point, her presence in the ring is just that of a, you know, 5-star athlete.
Yeah, without a doubt.
And she looks like there's nothing she can't do. So I mean, I hope she has a speedy recovery, but you know, you can only do what you can do with that because it's got to stabilize, you know, let alone worried about re-injuring it. So that's a tough one.
I believe too, Undertaker, I think he broke his orbital bone, and that's why he was wearing the mask back in like the mid 1990s, like the Phantom of the Opera mask he was wearing or whatever. So, yeah, speedy recovery to her, but it could be a cool kind of spin if she comes back, wears a mask or does something different. I think fans will be even more excited to see her back into the mix. I think, and
well, I'll tell you,
further,
you know, everybody talks about wrestling, and you know, it's just showbiz and all that. But boy, I tell you what, the injuries that everybody goes through.
Yeah,
I mean, I just had my all my nerves on my left side of my back burnt the other day. And I go in next week for the right side.
Man,
and you know, next, and they want to do replacements on both shoulders. You know, and everybody goes through that in that sport. And when you watch what they're doing today, and the heights they're coming off onto the floor and onto the mats, I just can't even believe they're gonna have very long careers. I mean, I watched her with that headbutt and I jumped. I mean, she hit that gal. Jesus, it was unbelievable.
Yeah.
Well, obviously it was very believable and she hated herself.
It really was.
Yeah.
But she didn't even flinch, you know? Whew.
No.
Tough gal.
She's a tough customer, that's for sure.
Yeah.
Magnum, you were saying too, so Charlotte is definitely taller than Rhea. I got to interview Rhea a couple of times, and she's well built, obviously, as you can see, but she's probably maybe like 5'8" or something like that, if that. You know, she's a little bit she doesn't have too much height, and I'm not a very tall person, so but yeah, she definitely carries it well, that's for sure.
Absolutely.
Mm-hmm. Credibility is key with her for sure. What else did I want to talk about? So this is an interesting one that my co-host from my daily wrestling show, Rumor and Innuendo, Robert Karplus, he's a former WWE writer. He kind of wanted to get both your guys' insight on this because it's a pretty neat, the announcement of WEID and them pairing up with a lot of independent promotions, 6 different ones, I believe, which is, I can't name them all, but definitely Cody Rhodes is American or the Nightmare Factory, Booker T's oh my God, why am I blanking on the name of it? ROW. And then there's a couple other ones too that are, Seth Rollins' school in Iowa. But they're pairing up with a lot of these ones and giving opportunities for a lot of independent wrestlers to get like the WEID tag and like them getting helped out financially and creatively and certain things like that, where they're kind of extending themselves even further out in the independent wrestling circuit. Greg, you've worked with some independent companies, I know, up in Minnesota and stuff like that, helping develop wrestlers and things like that. Talk about like how maybe just getting that WWE name out there just helps it itself,
Well, you need that feeder system, and that's what they're developing.
Yeah.
It's like the minor leagues in baseball,
right?
And it used to be just you had some of these guys that are trainers. I wouldn't put 2 cents worth into some of them, but the ones that really have some good schools, they're producing some really good. I had Tiffany, and then I trained this JDX and this Rampage Tyler Savage, and he just got picked up to go to Japan for a couple weeks. But it's hard. I tried to get him into the WWE. Tiffany made it. The other 2 were down there when the hurricane hit. So all they did is one day they did an interview, and they had about maybe an hour of working out, and then they got sent back, and they've never had another look. And these 2 guys are really, really good, and they should have an opportunity to be with the WWE, or I'd rather have them with them than AEW. But so it's I'm glad to see that they're expanding that and allowing some of these better training camps to kind of give them their minor league and give them the talent that they need to have for all these programs they have going.
Right. Magnum, what have you kind of caught on? Have you gotten word about all that stuff and heard about that since? What do you think?
I have. I mean, it's so ironic because the very system that put the territories out of business and shut down what's fed the business all this time, or kind of recreating the wheel a little bit, and and going back and reimagining it kind of from a different perspective. But there's just more advantageousness for them, greater opportunities for more people to be seen, or have a scout there watching them, see their work, see if they're what potential they might have. Because they're recruiting from so many different areas, and have been for years, from college athletes to you name it. They're looking at that next potential superstar, but there is those diamonds in the rough out there that just need the right guidance, and also getting people to kind of understand the WWE way of doing things. Because a lot of to your point, a lot of the other traditional indie things that are out there, a lot of it is the wild, wild west, and just ridiculous, crazy stuff that isn't ever going to be marketable, and in and of itself are people learning bad habits, and just people getting injured completely unnecessarily for absolutely nothing. So it's an art form, and it is more high risk today in terms of the things that people are attempting to do, but it might help kind of pull people into the regiment a little bit more, and again, promote some opportunities that wouldn't have been there otherwise, just by the nature of who will have eyes on it, by lieu of having the WWE tag in the background. So I think it'll be good. I think it'll be better for everybody that's touching it, and bring everybody's game up.
Yeah, how often do you guys, when you're kind of checking stuff out? Oh, go ahead, Greg. Go ahead.
Well, I see some of these guys that train people, and they charge the people.
Yes.
I was at an event a couple of weeks ago and signing some autographs, and the guy next to me had his son there, and he said, I want to get my son in the wrestling camp. And I said, well, how old is he? Well, he's 13. And he said, this guy will take him when he's 15. And I said, well, does he have any athletic background? Well, no. And I said, well, you really need an athletic background. I would suggest you have him go out for amateur wrestling so he can at least learn technique, balance, leverage before he goes in there. Because if he walks into a ring like that and you've got all these other guys that are athletes, he's going to get slaughtered.
Right.
And, and I said, is he charging you? He says, oh yeah, they charge us. It's like $1,500 to $2,500. And then, and I would never take anybody like that and give them the hope and take their money.
Sure.
I'd usually go 2 or 3 days with them. And if I thought they weren't going to have a chance, I'd let them know, I think this isn't for you. And I never charged them.
Yeah.
But these guys that are running these camps and are charging these kids are just taking their money. And I told this guy, you're just throwing your money away, Yeah. And I look at the poor kid at, 13 years old. He's got a lot of developing to do body-wise before they put him in the ring at 15 years old, for crying out loud.
Yeah, absolutely. And you can tell too, it's like if somebody's trying to get a kid in there at 13 years old, they're definitely in it to try to make a buck out of something.
Yeah,
and
that's all they're doing.
That's all they're trying to do is make a little cash on it. And
I went to this one and he had like 30 guys there.
Uh-huh.
And out of that, I picked out maybe 2 that could really make it.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
And I got a little hot at the guy. So what are you doing? We charge every one of them. And I made it like $1,500 a crack.
Man.
I said, man, don't do that. That gives.
Well, how long did, when they take that $1,500, how long did they let them train?
Well, he'll train them, 6 or 8 weeks. And they really.
I'm going to be the devil's advocate here. Now, the guy being qualified to do it or not, I'm totally with that. Because
here's where it was, TA. I mean, when I got in there, some of these guys had already been there 6 weeks.
Yeah, but what I'm saying is this. It's the same old deal. There's going to be people out there that they want to give you their money. They got a dream, and all they've got available is whatever will get them in a ring to bounce around. Obviously, there's a couple things. It's going to be dangerous, as you and I well know.
Yeah.
I mean, for a young kid to take a bad bump and ruin the rest of his life, that's a big deal. I mean, my son's working out with Lodi, and I sit down there and watch, and I mean, they definitely walk them through, the very, very basics of, a headlock, to a hammerlock, to nobody's coming off the top rope doing a moonsault, and so people that give people foundation building blocks, that's amazing. And guys like Tom Pritchard, for years, just and Les Thatcher, and just guys that have a background. So people just really need to kind of do their homework if they're hell bent on trying it, whether we think they got the potential or not. It's no different than going out and hiring a contractor or going to do anything without doing a little research today. The power of Google is an amazing thing, and if there's some bad things to say about somebody, you'll find out real quick if you start asking questions. So I will say that even people that don't appear to have qualifications to do what you and I know, and because I've seen a lot of them. Some of them just had to go through that just to really come to peace with the fact that this isn't exactly what I'm cut out to do.
Yeah,
and even if it's but if a man that is knowledgeable is standing there in the ring, he deserves to get paid for his time.
Mm-hmm.
And even if that person really doesn't have, he wouldn't have gone and picked her. He didn't go and solicit him. It wasn't like he was out in the corner saying, "Step right up, I'm gonna make you a pro wrestler." If the guy went out and sought him out, and he wants to go through the process, then I say let them, but don't, to your point, take young kids and potentially put them out there where they can hurt themselves and ruin the rest of their life because literally, one bad bump. Back to my hospital story, I had a kid next door to me in ICU. He was 16 years old, I think, and he was playing like he was me, and another guy was Ric Flair, and he went to belly suplex. The guy playing out in their yard broke his neck, paralyzed himself from the neck down, done.
Wow.
Just boom, just that quick. So none of the stuff's to be taken lightly, no matter what.
No.
And the internet and YouTube and all that stuff is made it a landmine of potential things that could go wrong.
Well, that's like to see the WWE get involved because they're going to oversee those camps, and have the right coaches in there. I would.
Well, they're only doing it with the shot. They're only doing it with the cream of the crop right now. They're not.
Yeah, no, I know
the people
that.
they're naming.
Yeah.
There's nobody there that needs to be overseen. Those guys, Booker T, everybody that they're, Cody's Nightmare Factory, all those places are not the ones we're talking about. We're talking about
right.
A guy like you're talking about that isn't going to be part of that deal at all. So.
Right.
Is that Vince calling you?
Yeah.
Hopefully not.
It's for you.
It's for me.
Oh, geez. It's for you. Boy, yeah. Did you guys hear that news that Vince is probably starting an entertainment company?
Can you imagine what that is?
Holy smokes. Jeez, oh man. Well, to talk a little bit more about this, I hope too it will indirectly elevate the game and kind of wash out some of these disreputable wrestling schools when it comes to
that's what
hey,
I'm thinking,
the WIP is on there. On these ones, this is certified and stuff like this. You can this discredits some of these other schools that are just hey, this guy worked a couple indie shows and now he started a wrestling school or something like that, where you kind of wash some of those ones out and then you elevate the better ones, because you constantly hear a lot of wrestlers too. Everybody's always asked, oh, how do I get into the business? How do I get into business? And a lot of wrestlers who know what they're doing, have been there before, they always say, go to a wrestling school that has the right credibility and that has a good name and something that maybe has had experience actually in a mainstream promotion and stuff like that. And so you definitely want that connection. It seems like this is a really, really positive step overall, I think, for the wrestling business. Now, how much WWE will necessarily take over all this stuff could be maybe a little complicated later on, but I think it's a positive step in the right direction overall.
Yeah, I do too. Yeah.
So should be pretty interesting. So, and there's a lot of reputable names that I would love to see get that tag as well. There's a lot of guys, like we were saying, Tom Pritchard, he still runs a school, I believe, with Kane down in Tennessee. I don't think that one. Dustin Rhodes has a school, I know, down in Austin, Texas. So a lot of good names that can get it. IWC up here in Pittsburgh, they have a good reputation for sure. So there we go.
So what's going on now with WWE?
In what way?
Well, they got the new tag team champions. Did you see that?
That's right. Yes, let's talk about that. Motor City Machine Guns, who I was a huge fan of in TNA. Alex Shelley was one of my favorite wrestlers. Now they're seasoned veterans of the game, way experienced, and they finally get to call up to WWE to work with them. Sure enough, it only takes a couple of weeks, and then they're the WWE Tag Team Champions. So it looks like WWE's really putting a focus on that tag team division. I like it.
Really a great storyline. It was a great storyline.
Yeah.
With the bloodline being involved in it.
Mm-hmm.
And boy, I'll tell you what, the Usos, the two brothers getting back together, it really got the crowd going. And
the Usos are always good at that, yeah. Mm-hmm.
So where are they going with it all?
That's interesting. I know I don't want to spoil stuff because I know this week's SmackDown is pre-taped because they're all in Saudi Arabia. So I know what is the immediate going on. But I don't know.
You keep the two of us, the two wrestlers in the dark here, right? We don't know shit about it.
Okay, well, listeners, if you do not want to hear what's going on, this is a spoiler. Okay, this is a spoiler.
Oh, don't spoil it.
Okay, I can say it, but it does involve the bloodline. What's going on in Saudi Arabia? So there's a little bit more development. Yes, yes.
So when is the show? Is the show in Saudi Arabia Saturday or Sunday?
Saturday. I believe it's Saturday. I'm not sure what time. Producer Robert might know what time it is. I'm not sure what the start time is for that. Usually it's earlier in the day since they're so far ahead of us over there.
What's going to happen over there?
They seem to have a
lot
pretty
of great matches. Cody and Gunther.
Yeah, I mean they have that for the Crown Jewel Championship, which that title doesn't mean anything, but there it is. Look at that. It's Saturday, November 2nd at 1 p.m. Nice job, Robert. Holy smokes. Good way to be on the ball.
Really good.
Oh, yes, and that's the bloodline will be involved for sure. So, in what way I won't spoil it for you guys, but they're in the mix. Usually with these Saudi shows, they present big matches, like big names going up against one another, but the stakes are really never there. It's always like kind of like surface appearance where it's just like, hey, look at what we're presenting to you guys, even though we're not going to really give you too much because we want to further stuff towards WrestleMania over Saudi. So, but looks like a good show.
They got that.
They got that huge belt. Whew, that huge belt. I think Magnum's belt looks better though behind that.
Well, yeah. There's that. Yeah. Well, I mean, it's beautiful, but to your point, I mean, they created something to be a centerpiece and a deal. I mean, I'm just more curious what they're going to do with the whole deal because, Gunther's on this, just this slow, steady climb to, cementing himself as, that technical, hard-hitting, mule kick type athlete. And, I mean, he's just outstanding. So I'm very curious to see what they do with it. I'm sure they've got some twists and turns for everybody. But to your point, I mean, the belt's just been introduced, so it can't have any great. You got two world champions fighting for a new shiny belt.
That's it. That's exactly it.
Yeah. Well, I'll tell you what, that Gunther did a great interview with Cody last time.
Yes, he did, Greg. I really agree.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. That was one of the best interviews I've seen him have. He really got on Cody.
Yeah.
I
think the great
serious. It was emotional for Cody, the way it was presented. When he brought up his dad and his brother. And it really get the people really into it. It was very good. Excellent.
I think too, just the visual
thought on it.
I agree.
Well, and Goldberg's announced that he's going to be in Saudi Arabia. So there might be a receipt, and he may be a receipt coming over there that might unsettle the apple cart. Because
how about that? Man, I tell you what, I'm always been a big fan of Goldberg. I was even as a kid, he was the first big wrestler I got to meet. So it's like anytime he shows up, he adds that. I mean, he's not that amazing in the ring, that's for sure, and not that smooth in the ring, but he's got that legitimacy to him. So, yeah.
You remember when he had that garage rescue show thing?
I remember. I never saw an episode, but was it good?
So they redid people's garages into these themes and different things, and you had to present a contest or whatever. But anyway, one of my neighbors won the contest.
Really?
And Bill came and they shot the thing, and anyway, him and I never met him, and they all, I went over to the neighborhood. They wanted me to come, meet him. Magnum lives around the corner, and man, he was the nicest guy.
Isn't he?
He is so just real, down to earth. Was obviously had an amazing career, but what a real stand up guy, man's man kind of guy. He is. I'm glad to see somebody like him garner that kind of success. And man, what a stud his kid is. I mean, he is turning into, a reincarnation of his dad.
Yeah.
Really? I haven't seen him.
Oh, you haven't?
No.
Ooh. Greg, he plays
for
He plays for Colorado for Dion. Dion's the
Oh,
Buffalo.
okay. All right.
Yeah.
See,
Yeah.
I played with Goldberg's one of his younger brothers or older brother.
Really?
Older brother. Yeah, older brother.
Wow, really?
Yeah, University of Minnesota.
Wow.
He was a character too. But Bill is a little more aggressive than what
really?
or his nephew or whatever they were, but they were related.
The thing I like about Goldberg, he's like to what you said, Greg. He's got so much charisma and stuff. That instant charisma too. It's like it's not something like you see behind the microphone. He's at the in-ring presence charisma, where it's just like, dude, that guy is just an ass kicker, and like he's got presence about him. Yeah, right. And then on top of it, the thing I like about him, and he always gets such a bad rap on social media and everything like that. But I think like people don't factor in how nice he is to what Magnum was saying. He's a very nice person. And on top of it too, he loves animals. He's a big animal advocate, everything like that. There's just so much to like about him. And
he's a great guy, great personality.
Yeah.
What do they rip him about?
Oh, just his attitude on certain things about wrestling. He's very blunt when it comes to like having an opinion and stuff like that. So if he sees something he doesn't like, or
it's better to be honest,
right?
It,
Yeah, exactly. So
I get in trouble a lot because I say what I
think.
Yeah.
You know? No, not you, Greg.
It's happened.
I can't believe that.
Quite a bit. If somebody asks me, I'm going to tell them the way I feel. I'm not going to hold back and kiss anybody's ass about it. And, tell them the way you feel about it.
That's it.
I'm done for the day before I get in more trouble.
Well, yes.
Are we okay, TA? Well, TA is a lot like me, but he's a little smoother. He's a little more diplomatic about it.
Well, he is the boss, so he knows how to operate.
That's why he's the boss.
I've got to stay a little steadier at the helm because I got too many balls in the air to get flustered.
That's it.
I can't afford it.
You got to balance it out.
Yeah.
Before we start taking some fan questions, guys, if you do have questions, I see CB's in the house. I see Triple E is here. ATF Media, who's always loves Ronnie Garvin big time for some reason. I think he's trolling us a little bit, but that's fine. Andrew is in here, and Eric. So if you guys have some questions, feel free to chime in and get some more out there. But did want to get your guys' thoughts. Greg, I know you didn't watch Dynamite, and I don't know if Magnum, if you did too, but Bobby Lashley made his debut.
Did he really?
Yes, he did. So to close out the show and everything like that. And I don't want to dig.
Can I ask you a question, not to be too naive here? What's Dynamite? Yep. Whose show is that?
That's AEW. That's AEW.
AEW. That's why I didn't see it.
That's why you didn't see it. Yep. So
just to be truthful about the thing.
Yeah. So he showed up.
TA?
So they brought the Hurt Business over to AEW, right?
Yep. So MVP is there. Shelton Benjamin was there. He was in the main event against Swerve Strickland. And Swerve ended up beating Shelton. And then after it was all said and done, out came Bobby Lashley, and they all beat up Swerve Strickland. So really setting the tone for what that faction is. That's a new top heel faction that was in WWE and now in AEW. So, getting those guys involved, they're legitimate fighters and stuff like that. They all have a good background when that stuff. So
Sheldon and Bobby.
So it's only a matter of time before we have Bobby Lashley and Orange Cassidy.
That's it. Wow. Could you imagine? Holy smokes.
I can imagine him being at about the third tier on like a dart with his hands in his pocket. Like a lawn dart.
Yeah. As he comes down, Sheldon will catch him.
Yeah.
And it's all over.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. So, I mean, it's really interesting because, I mean, they've had the Brian Cages, there, which, I mean, I was watching him on the Lucha Underground show thing, whatever it has, and I was such a big fan of his in the character, the way they portrayed him on that show. And then I watch him get in that world, and it never just seemed to be able to get out of park for whatever reason, booking, creative. I got no idea.
I think it's both.
But now they've got, well, to your point, somebody they could just start at one end and just line them all up, make a sandwich out of the whole roster. So it'll be interesting, really interesting to see creative wise how they approach that.
Right. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So does Ring of Honor have another show that airs at another time?
This is the issue, and I've taken such a big exception with how AEW's handled ROH. It's not well handled at all. So they're on their own program that you have to subscribe to called ROH Honor Club. That's the only way you can watch their shows is through that. And so they tape them before the Dynamite tapings happen and all that stuff. And then they put them on. But what they basically are, Magnum and Greg, are like glorified squash matches. Is like you get to see and some of them are just straight up squash matches, basically. So there's not a whole lot of story that goes into them, not a whole lot of thought that goes into them. Whereas like ROH was its own kind of on a lower end, maybe like had more of an underground ECW vibe back in the day. And now here it is just like a not even a really feeder system for AEW, because it's just like they put talent in there that they're not really using. And then it's kind of a fruitless effort, but yeah, so that's kind of where they're at. It's a subscription service that you have to pay, I think, $10 a month to subscribe to. So it's not very healthy for the brand, or I think for AEW in general with how they've handled that.
So if that's your lane, if that's where they have you in the mix, that's not the greatest. I mean, maybe a paycheck, but that's not the greatest career path.
It could be like a knock on the door to be like, hey, I'm ready for Dynamite.
Yeah, but not if you've gone from what it is their main level and they veered you over in that lane.
Right.
That's not a great. I mean, besides the fact that so Chris Jericho's now the Ring of Honor World Champion or something.
Right. Well, that's what maybe the hope is that since Jericho's got the championship, maybe he even cut a promo that he kind of elevate it. And maybe they have better plans for it. That's what I'm optimistic for. Cautiously optimistic about.
Is he paying some homage to Bray Wyatt with his little his little story? I mean, it's like it's the Firefly Funhouse.
Funhouse, yeah, it is kind of like that. Because
did you notice that too?
That's a good way to think about that, because it's like he does have that kids show kind of, hey guys, and the learning tree and all this stuff. I think it's more so patronizing and condescending than it is like, kind of the creepy vibe of it that Bray Wyatt had with it. But it's like, maybe he's tipping the cap a little bit in a roundabout way for that. So
I'm going to take it that way, because I thought that part was good.
Yeah. I like Jericho's another guy that gets a hard time, and sometimes, and I would say this maybe storyline with him and everything like that hasn't been the best, but it's also like he's always trying to find a different way to present himself, to present the product, and I always think that's pretty admirable in pro wrestling to do.
No, he's recreated himself more times and successfully, and had great runs than pretty much anyone I can point to.
Yeah,
right. Look at him from the WCW, jumping over to WWE, and all the different renditions of his look and the different things that he did, and then arguably when he stepped into the AEW limelight, he really did elevate that company, just absolutely huge, because he's a star outside of the wrestling genre with his music that he's been very successful with as well. I mean, he's like a pop culture icon, really,
right?
On a lot of levels. So, they're lucky to have him still really in the conversation.
100%,
because I mean,
Tia, maybe you know this. AEW now is there a group of people that write the show, or is it just the one guy?
Oh no, they've got a group of people.
They got a group.
Yeah,
they got a group, and it's like, but
a
it's
wrestling group that is in there helping with it, or are they just
no,
TV
they have professional people that they've hired to do that. They've got people. The one lady came from WWE, did she not? One of the folks.
Yeah, Jennifer Pepperman, and she used to
Right.
be a soap opera writer too. She used to write for, I want to say it was like All My Children or something like that, or maybe a couple of ones. And so she's been working with the Mercedes Monet, I know. As far as other people that I've heard had creative aspects of, I'm trying to think. It's been a rotating group though. It's been like Danielson has been involved. There's been several names, but the thing is I think that's been an issue, is that they haven't really had a cohesive unit that you get a lot of good input from and stuff like that. I think the potential's there. And I will say, I think Dynamite and AEW overall has been building stories recently more so than they have in the past. So it is a step in the right direction they've been taking.
Well,
yeah, they've been taking more.
Them then. I'll have to.
I would love to get your opinion on some of this stuff, because you know, we're not afraid to be critical of them on here. That's for sure. And I think what they've been doing recently. Yeah,
I've never been too critical of them.
Never been too critical. Not you.
TAs.
Where you don't want to be those old grumpy guys.
Definitely don't want to be that. You want to be in tune with stuff. That's for sure. Well, let's take a couple of.
I don't think it's being grumpy. I think, it's so different from when you and I were back in the day. And when I see outside people trying to produce the program, a lot of them don't get it. And it doesn't come out right when it's presented then in the ring. Does that make any sense?
You're not going to bring logic to this conversation.
Okay, I'll stop. I'm done.
And everything you're saying is correct. But again, I said this last week. I said this is a man's vision who's got more money than I will ever in 5 lifetimes, and he's having fun, and he's doing something he's always wanted to do, along with other things that he does that create all kinds of other income. So it's one man's muse who is a fan and a multi-bajillionaire, and again is just making a platform. And so somebody's drinking the Kool-Aid because they re-upped their television contract, and like it, lump it, or leave it, they are the only alternative product on television that's done professionally to compete with the WWE. And I would argue that if TNA had 1/10 of the financial investment in that company that poured weekly into AEW, their content can stand up with just about anybody, because they can really produce some good content programming. They just don't have the setting and the stage to put it on. If you could just imagine for a moment, close your eyes and imagine all those people that are on TNA in a building with 4,000 or 5,000 people in it, and lit right, shot right, dressed up right, and the same people doing that same thing, it'd be a whole different game.
Right. It's very true. And like I always said when I used to cover TNA, it's always a consistently good story and product that had continuity and everything like that when it would come to the week-to-week basis of what you had. And that talent, the talent there, it rotates in. You used to see all that talent show up in WWE, whether they're under full-time or part-time. And then they make their way to AEW. But yes, if they had the same kind of backing that AEW has, they would definitely be in the game. And Magnum, I also think you make a great point when it comes to like, hey, Tony Khan is has this mindset of how he wants it to happen, and he grew up an ECW fan. And I think an issue that AEW does with their storytelling is like, hey, we're all for AEW. It's the letters that we're for and everything like that. And that's what kind of ECW's brand was about. Like, hey, we're ECW fans. We're the underground company that we like is edgier and riskier and all that kind of stuff. Well, AEW doesn't necessarily have that brand identity and everything like that. And he's trying to hammer that home to another audience. Just like we're more, as a fan, I'd want to be more invested into the characters and the story rather than the letters. And so I think he's playing into his ECW fandom a little bit when it comes to how he's booking, I think.
Yeah. Two words for you. Paul Heyman. Without Paul Heyman, none of it would have worked. And,
yes.
And a genius.
Mm-hmm.
And they need a little genius and going on to create their own magic and have continuity along with it. Whatever the stylization may be, they can all be under 145 pounds if they want to be. I don't care. But it's the following and get people vested in those personalities and the stories and what you want to say and take everybody on the trip you want to take them on. But they got to be at least be able to follow what you're trying to sell.
Right.
Well, I think that's what I was trying to get at. I mean, do they have anybody from wrestling in their booking group, AEW, or are they just all writers and outside people coming in trying to produce the wrestling program?
I think they have some wrestlers involved.
Do they?
I wouldn't say, now I can't speak for how involved certain ones are, but I would say that a lot of them are more on like the younger side. So you don't have maybe a Jake Roberts, or you don't have I know he's not there anymore, but an Arn Anderson or somebody like that kind of been in the ear of Tony and stuff like that, where it's more so modern talent that see it a certain way and that have it a certain way. And then you have Tony's ultimate mindset of how he thinks wrestling should be portrayed to what Magnum was saying. And then that's how you get it.
I mean, because just speaking from my own past experience and being there in WCW with Dusty, I always looked at like everything in worst case scenario. I said, well, if something were to happen to Dusty tomorrow, let's say he just poof killed over, who around me do I think has got the creative juices to go into what all this takes? And you met that name you just mentioned, Jake Roberts. Well, it was a mastermind. He came from that long lineage of storytelling mindsets from wrestling, and you can't take that out of somebody's DNA. And so to have that and not just say, this is an asset that I would like to at least bounce things off of, whether I did them or not.
Yeah.
I would have somebody you might consider a sage and maybe not have them out in public, if you will, but talk to them, and get those kind of inputs, because there's something to learn, to weave into everything, to make it new again. And to your point, people like that, can be an asset and not have to turn the clock back and make it look like it's 1975 or 1995 or whatever's considered archaic, but just something to say, hey, what do you see in my people? What would you do with them if you could drive the bus for a week? And where would you want to go with it? That
right.
Would be, I would check my ego at the door just long enough to hear it and try to play that tape through and see where that might go. Could this possibly, even if it was just one thing that's weaved in and out of all this programming, capture people's imagination to make them want to turn in just to find out what's going to happen next week. Same bat time, same bat station. Oh, wow, that formula works.
Yeah, I guess that's where I was kind of going with it. Oh, shoot. Sorry.
Oh, Hollywood. Vince is calling Greg now.
We're doing our podcast. I'll call you right back. Okay, bye. Tony.
There you go.
Oh, okay. My mistake.
He wants to talk to both of us.
Yeah.
We might bring Dom in on it too.
Hey, there we go.
Yeah.
I'm happy to contribute.
That was my
Darren
son.
Staley says that was Aunt Patty. Oh, that was your son?
Yeah, sorry about it. He's on the road, so I'm sure.
Oh.
He's got this job where he's got the Denver, the Wyoming, Montana, North Dakota, Iowa, all the great states that he has to drive to. He flies into them and then drives to these different areas. And North Dakota, and with this time of year, the roads are, God, makes me nervous thinking about it.
I can only imagine. I bet it does. Oh boy.
Oh, we used to make those cheeses, from Minneapolis to Minot, North Dakota. It was 500 miles, and Flair and I'd be in that car and hit the snowstorm, be drinking them down, and away we went. I don't know how we're still around. Yeah.
Jeez.
We had one trip. We had to go from Minneapolis to Winnipeg, to Winnipeg, and then Winnipeg to Chicago. Mm-hmm. So it was 1,000 miles. So, boom, bang, boom, driving that baby.
You're all broke up from you sitting in that stinking car all these years.
That's the issue, Greg.
You compression fractured your entire body, all those thousands of miles riding up and down the road. You beat yourself to death. You're a professional driver.
Well, didn't you do that too?
No.
Oh, you flew everywhere.
I flew everywhere.
He flew. He was an airman.
When we were rookies, we didn't get a chance. We get a fly to Denver.
I drove my miles too, but no. All kidding aside, all those, that wears and tears on your body, just like
boy, does it ever. Yeah,
absolutely. Oh my gosh, jeez, that's the worst thing about it. Now, I travel around to cover some shows here and there, and I think in my head, I don't know how you guys travel even more than that. More so because I'll travel like once, if maybe consistently, like once or twice a month. And I'll be exhausted. I'll be done.
Well, some of those trips, you could get 12 beers down.
I guess that easy.
It was at that time, back in that time, we'd all get in that car and you'd have a few beers and drive all the way, 500 miles.
My goodness.
It's amazing we're still around.
Well, let's take a couple questions here before we close on out. First off, I do want to say Tuesday's election day. If you're in the North Carolina area, I don't know where it is, but vote for Darren Staley. He's one of our guys. He's running for North Carolina Senate. So give him a little vote if you so are in the area. So how about that?
Is he a Democrat or Republican?
I don't know what he is. I think he's a Democrat.
Okay.
So, yes.
So
best of luck. Okay. Well, there we go, Craig. trying to help a fan out, but that's okay.
I didn't put his new filter in this morning.
I'm trying to get us some viewers. Right. We're just trying to build viewers here, controversy.
That's it. That's very funny. He says he's a blue-collar Reagan Democrat. Blue-collar Reagan Democrat, everybody. So just so you know.
The boss is going to fire me.
The boss will let you go. But yeah, I would vote for you there, Darren, just so you know. Let's see. Hey, here we go. Greg, here's a question for you. Let's pivot a little bit. Does Greg keep in contact with Sergeant Slaughter?
No.
All right.
Well, I'll acknowledge on that one.
Yeah.
I've talked to him a couple of times, but I haven't seen him in a long time.
Yeah.
Yeah, he was a good guy. He went through Vern's training camp, paid the price. It was just Bob Remus, and then he turned into Sergeant Slaughter, and everything was history from there. He was a great performer in the ring, without a doubt, one of the great personalities, of that time. Good interviewer. When we brought him in, he came in with Lord Alfred Hayes as his manager before he was Sergeant Slaughter.
Wow.
He was under a mask. And they got pretty hot in the AWA. It was so good. But no, he's a terrific guy.
Yeah. He was a great heel back then too, big time.
Yeah. Yeah.
Magnum, what's been your experience with Sergeant Slaughter, if any?
I got to work with him a couple times, and matter of fact, Don Kernoodle and Sarge and I were in some kind of 6-man tag with Ivan and the whole Russian group in Greensboro for a show, and it was pretty cool. Yeah, he's tremendous performer and really moved amazing for his size. And people don't realize what a big guy he is. But I mean, he could go out there and go 60 minutes with Flair. I mean, he could do whatever it took. So that GI Joe gimmick, and then turning heel on Hogan, and that whole deal. I mean, guy had this amazing career.
Man,
yeah. Good guy.
Absolutely. Too. He's got a great gimmick going at his merch table. If you guys don't know, what he does. Do you know what it is, Magnum? Do you know what it is, Greg?
The Cobra Clutch.
The Cobra Clutch, and then he gives you a coin.
Yep, the coin.
And
those coins.
And our guy gets the coins made for him.
Yeah.
No way.
Yeah, David Keller is
we need to get those out.
Yeah, hey.
Well, you need to get people to want you to put them in some kind of hold. You can charge them $100.
There you go, Greg. What kind of hold would you put them in? A headlock, chicken wing,
the sleeper. Boom, and drop them right there. Bang.
Get the Gagne sleeper on you.
Yeah.
What was your big? Well, how do you do the belly to belly?
Not so well these days.
Can you put that on the back of the coin?
Yeah, not so well these days.
The whole premise is that you got to be able to put them in it, get your picture taken,
get your picture,
and then get the coin.
Yeah, I understand
that. But he's literally going through thousands of them at a time.
Oh, I know it. I was with him the one day. Shit, he's handing them, selling them like crazy, and doing the Cobra Clutch. It was
here's my pitch to you, Greg. You can do the Greg Gagne high five instead of the high flyer. Do the high five, and that's all you got to do is a picture, and then you get a coin. I high five the high flyer.
Oh, that's not gonna sell.
It could work. Megan, I've had this cider's kicking in a little bit. This hard cider's kicking a little bit. We'll close out with. Let me find a good one here. Oh, Robert's got one. Any Sting stories, in or out of the ring stories? Magnum, let's start with you. Any good Sting stories you would like to share?
Any good Sting stories?
Yes.
He came along on the heels of this guy that was kind of famous and hit a telephone pole and opened up a great big old window of opportunity. And Sting was not somebody that instantly embraced the business the way that for something that he's made a complete amazing career out of. And so it's kind of cool that I watched his journey where he was really uncomfortable in his own skin and didn't like being this surfer dude, crazy guy that they got him to be. It wasn't really till he got into that whole Sting, the Crow looking gimmick deal that, he really started having fun with the business. But a tremendously passionate, talented individual and an amazing, amazing athlete. My best interaction thing was calling a match in Chicago with Jim Ross at a pay-per-view. And Sting jumped farther than I have ever seen any white man ever jump in my life. He sprung from the middle of the ring all the way out over the top rope to Rick Steiner, who was about another 4 or 5 feet away from the ring, and like hit him with a flying splash. It looked like he dove through the air, no kidding, like 20 feet. It looked like Michael Jordan had just leaped through the air, and you could count 1,000, 2,000, 3,000, 4 before he ever got where he was going. And it was just absolutely amazing. And that was back before walkthroughs and scripting and all that stuff. And the camera people missed the whole shot. They missed it. And I'm sitting there calling it and popping and going off the greatest feat of athleticism I've ever personally witnessed in my life. And nobody else but us in the building saw it. All the people on pay-per-view never even got to see it happen. But, great athlete, great contributor to the business, and and a guy that I wish I'd had the opportunity to work with.
Oh my gosh, what a program you two could have had. Whether you were tagging up as baby faces or one of you, be the heel and the baby face, it would have been good stuff.
Yeah, I flew farther than that once.
Yeah, that'd have been fun.
I flew farther than Sting.
Yeah. Did you?
Mosca grabbed me from the ropes on one side, threw me over the top ropes on the other one. I landed out on about the second row. I didn't do it on my own. He just fired me out.
So you were the original human dart.
I was human dart. Yeah.
Human dart, Greg Gagne.
About 3 people caught me. Well, I went over in the chairs.
There you go, Greg. Instead of a coin, you do darts. Give out darts with your name.
There we go. In the back of it. Back of the coin.
How about that?
There he goes.
Well, let them see how far they can throw you today, and then we'll give them a coin.
Then give them a coin.
Yeah.
We'll get through at least
be perfect for my back.
That's it.
You better get a heck of a payday out of that one.
You're a genius when it comes to that merchandising. Boy, you're good. That's why they call you the boss.
That's why he's the boss.
That's why he's the boss.
Speaking of which, any news on Powertown? Anything you want to say regarding that Magnum going on?
Look forward to 2025. Yes. I'm getting excited about everything we got in the pipeline. We do have let's see, by the time maybe not the next show after, we'll have a new opportunity to announce coming from Powertown.
Ooh, exciting.
I can't say anything. I'll get thrown out again.
You kind of NDA every other day.
I know. They just keep me out of it. I just call the talent and, work with the talent and keep my nose out of everything else so I don't say anything too soon.
Well, he's the facilitator and he's the boss. If you guys want to hear more from these guys, you can follow Greg on Instagram at gagne.greg. You can follow Magnum on Instagram at Magnum_TA. You can follow me on Instagram if you want to at dom.d'angelo. But be sure to like this channel, whether you're on the 4horsemanetwork.com or OneTrueSportTV.com. Share, subscribe, get the word out, and definitely subscribe to our podcast feed. And go to Powertown Wrestling 2 for all your Powertown news needs and see what might be on the pipeline or what we had in the past as well. Go to OneTrueSport.com for that merchandise. Here, I'll pop some of that up real quick. Get that Greg Gagne hoodie, the high flyer hoodie, zip hoodie. You can get it in black or dark blue. Look at that. Look at that mug you can get too. Greg Gagne Heart of a Champion mug. You can also get the t-shirt version of that too, dressed like a champion. And then there's more Magnum merch as well. With Nikita, you can get the best of 7, that classic t-shirt. And on the back of that t-shirt, I should say, has all their matches dated and on there too. So pretty darn cool shirt there. So be sure to check all that stuff out. More merch to come, more stuff to come. I'm going to start clipping stuff up more for this channel and getting word out about this because we got some good content going here. We talked plenty from AEW to Bobby Lashley to Goldberg to Jake Roberts to Sergeant Slaughter. So lots to cover on this week. It was a fun episode, guys. We'll have to do this next time.
We got to give you a plug. We got to give you a plug here. Just go on the Instagram. Every other picture I get, Dom and the cat are on there all day long, all night long. 2 a.m. I
Not
go on there. There's Dom. You are the Instagram king.
The only thing I'm promoting on there is
even Gogo says that. Laura, are you back home?
She make it back. The only thing I'm promoting on there.
Again.
The only thing I'm promoting on there is the Second Amendment because I have the gun show. Boom, that's it. All right, I'm closing it out with that.
All right,
we'll see you guys. Oh yeah, next week we're gonna start going live every Tuesday at 4 p.m. Every Tuesday at 4 p.m. So write that down on your calendar, everybody, ladies and gents. We're gonna do that so we can be right on the off of Raw, and we can talk about WWE Raw. We can talk about the weekend and all that kind of stuff, and stay a little more in tune with everything. So there you go, guys. As far as anything else goes, thank you for tuning in. thank you for being fans, and thank you, Greg. Thank you, Magnum. It's always a fun time here. And thank you for
Thank you, Dom, and thank you, Meg.
Sounds like whatever that show was. What was the name of that show where they're like, "Good night, everybody. Good night." This, whatever that one was.
He's mad at me now.
Right. We'll see you guys next time here on Straight Talk with Paul.
All right. See you next week.
See you guys.